Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the holiday special of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Princeman.
Thank you, Dougie. Your intro gets better week by week around here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Coming to you, as always, from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in a cold Bergen County, New Jersey.
Oh, yes.
This is the Mind Your Pucking Business show brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project. And as you mentioned, it is our holiday special show. As you can see, if you're following on camera, we have some attire today that we would not normally ever wear unless it was the Mind Your Pucking Business holiday special. So we welcome you to the show.
Speaking about our new sponsor, do you know you get 25% off using promo code MYPB?
That is true. And that is across your screen if you're following and you want to go check out their website, the Bamboozle Project. You can use that promo code. This is episode number 58, 58 on the SAP dial for those who are using that today. You can email your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com. And you can hear us on a variety of different platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Facebook. You want to find us, you have no excuse not to do so. And today is a good episode that you would want to find us because coming up momentarily, I believe in a matter of moments, one of, if not our favorite guest, and I don't want to say favorite because then we kind of
Top.
belittle. Well, but then
one of our top, because
one of our
multiple.
Top, yes, one of our top, definitely one of our favorite guests. Will be with us in a minute, and that is Dan Rosen, senior writer of NHL.com. And there is a lot that we can talk to Dan about with everything going on. So we will do that momentarily once he is on. How's everything with you? Everything you ready for Christmas?
Absolutely.
You are heading out. You are escaping the cold weather.
Yes, first time.
Yes, for first time. You are going on. So congratulations again. As we mentioned back in November, you got married.
Yes.
You are now finally cashing in on your honeymoon tickets.
Yes.
Because your wife is a teacher, and I know that they cannot go away during the school year.
Sure.
You are heading south to Florida for about a week.
Yes.
And programming-wise, we will next week be on at the end of the week. We will be doing a New Year's Eve day show. So that would be the 31st in the morning, as you are due to return the 30th, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So if all goes to plan, we'll be here the 31st doing a New Year's Eve show, which would be great. But yeah, we're escaping the cold weather. The first time I've ever done the holidays outside of Jersey. So it'll be warm Christmas for us. And it works out perfectly because our clients and the people we work with at Undefeated Media probably won't even realize I'm gone because we're sneaking it right during the holiday season. They're all occupied and yeah.
They won't even realize it.
They won't even know.
So we've kind of did a little bit of a role reversal. Usually I go away next week to warm weather. We are not this year. And you are taking that baton from me and going. So we wish you the best of luck with that. So Dan Rosen will be with us in a minute. And one of the first questions that we're going to ask him, and I think it has to be the first question, is not Ranger related. It's NHL league-wide related. And that is the COVID situation. As the league has announced late last night that there will be a shutdown of the league starting tomorrow for a few days through the Christmas break. So at least for 4 days as the COVID situation within the league. And it's not just affecting the NHL. If you follow other sports, particularly the NFL or NBA, you can see that every week there are players added to either a COVID list, a COVID protocol, whatever it may be. And so the league now, from where they really had escaped any issue for a few weeks, now definitely has some figuring out to do, as we all do, really, with the return of COVID affecting the situation. So the league, can't go back to the bubble, obviously. That's not possible. And so they're going to have to figure out something going forward here.
So I kind of have a little bit of an inside source.
Okay.
I got a friend of mine, Garrett Henderson. He works for the Devils, right? So we'll get into this when we bring Dan on. We're having this little mini shutdown, but they're planning on playing, I believe, the 30th. Everything comes back.
Yeah, everything comes back to 27th. So the way that the NHL has worded now, and again, this is changing around here by literally by the hour.
Yeah.
So right now, the Rangers in particular, we'll use this example. They were supposed to play home tomorrow night against Montreal the 22nd. That actually got canned before the league-wide shutdown because they wanted to get rid of the cross-border game. So Montreal obviously would have to cross the border. But then the league said nothing will happen through the Christmas break. So for the Rangers right now, they are still scheduled to play next Monday at home at the Garden versus the Red Wings. Whether that happens, we will see.
So when we get rid of these cross-border games, we're just going to tack them on at the end of the season?
Well, that's another question that we're going to ask Dan.
That's going to mess up all your standings and playoffs and all that.
You're going to have to make them up.
Let's ask the master then.
We will. Let's see. Let's see if we can get Dan. I see he's there in our virtual green room. Let's see if we can bring Dan in. Hello, Dan. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
There we go.
We are good. So we actually started. Well, first off, thank you as always for joining us. One of our top guests, if not our favorite. I don't want to play favorites around here, but so we have to start with a non-related Ranger question, not Ranger specific, and that is league specific with this COVID situation. Right now, the league is shut down tomorrow through the Christmas break. So no games from here on out through Christmas. Rangers themselves are scheduled to go next Monday. How concerned is the league? I mean, I have to assume it's just panic at the moment.
Well, I don't know if panic is the right word. I don't think it's panic. I think they're trying to do the right thing around the holidays, to be honest with you. Now you're seeing teams coming down with COVID. Like I think the Boston Bruins have 10 guys, the Calgary Flames had 16, so these things are happening. There's a couple of things. It's not panic because from the health and safety point of view, none of the guys getting sick, as far as I'm concerned, are getting really sick as they were last year. Like last year was different with the Vancouver Canucks and their families. These guys have mild symptoms, if not asymptomatic, because everybody in the league except one player is fully vaccinated. And a lot of the players in the league also have the booster shot as well. So those are good things, right? So it's not necessarily panic from a health and safety standpoint. And it's not necessarily panic right now either, I don't think. I think it's just prudent. I think they're just doing the right thing. And you talk about cross-border travel, right? So think of it this way. So the Montreal Canadiens, they come down here to our area to play right before Christmas, right before a holiday break that the NHL annually gives the players. Well, what happens if players from the Montreal Canadiens test positive while in New York? They cannot return home if that's the case. Canada won't let them in. If a player in Canada wants to return home to the United States, right, and test positive, he cannot do that. So it's really the prudent decision from a player personal life standpoint is to just cut it off early and resume after the Christmas break. And that's basically, when you think about it, they've cut one day, right? I mean, there's a lot of games that have gotten canceled, but in terms of days, it's one day, because instead of it being the 24th through the 26th, resuming on the 27th, it's the 23rd through the 25th, and practices are on the 26th now. And yeah, their hope is to restart everything come the 27th. Now we'll see where teams are at that point of view, at that time, in terms of their, where guys are with COVID and in protocol and all that. I think that's where we'll get a better analysis of where things are and who can resume and who can't at that point. But there's a number of teams that can play right now, and they're just not, because of the prudent decision around the holiday.
So do you think, because all these games, I'm assuming at some point here are going to get made up, would it make sense right now to think it would be in this 3-week window in February where there happens to be no game scheduled if they don't end up going to the Olympics?
Well, let's just assume that they're not going to go to the Olympics, and you got to remember there has been no announcement on that. It's not official yet, but one of the things that the NHL said was, unless there's a material disruption in the schedule because of COVID, the NHL will honor its agreement. Well, we're looking at a material disruption in the schedule now, right? I mean, there's been, I can't remember the exact number of games postponed. It's in the 30s, I believe, in the number of games postponed, but I have that. So we're looking at a material disruption in the schedule. And so if they don't go to the Olympics, you have that February 4th coming out of, All-Star through the 23rd or something like that. So it's in about
the
3
Rangers
weeks
return,
there.
I think.
Yeah, so it's about 3 weeks there. But then you have that you have the ability to make up games, but you're not going to be able to make up every one of them because building availability is not going to be there. Remember, the buildings laid empty for a year plus. So once the people who operate these buildings, the businesses of them, saw that there was a 3-week break with no NHL games, they filled those nights with shows, concerts, whatever it might be. So there isn't that much availability. I think Madison Square Garden has 5 open dates within that 3-week span. Can you pop a Ranger game in there? Absolutely, you can. But how's that schedule going to work out? Because the Rangers also have a few makeups. They have an Islander, a Senator, and I think Montreal. There's other teams with makeup. So it's a scheduling matrix that they're going to have to come up with to utilize as much of that window as they can, if it's available to them without an Olympic window, to make up some games. But then they're going to have to intersperse other things throughout the year and figure it out. I don't know how that schedule matrix works, but I will tell you the goal is to, the goal and what really must happen to have the competitive integrity of the league is to have everybody play their 82 games.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the schedule maker for the NHL right now. I mean, and that person is going to earn their salary and then some this year. So let's go with some Ranger. Let's go with some Ranger questions. Now, last time you were on was the preseason before we got started, and you and I had said at the show, look, this team was good enough to make the playoffs, and here they are really making us look geniuses because they should make the playoffs, you would think now, and they've really just been great on a lot of levels. But let me ask you a couple questions on them, and then I had a couple people send in some questions for you, Devils and Islanders stuff, which I promised them I will take. So I'm going to be an equal opportunity fan here today, not just Rangers. So let's go with the Rangers. I'm going to stick with some things at first that maybe I'm a little disappointed in. Filip Chytil continues to not really show me much to get overly excited for his future. He had a game, the Sunday night game, the shootout game with the Devils, I think was his best I've ever seen him play. He was all over the place that Sunday night at the Garden, but yet remains these other games. It's like you don't even notice him in the lineup. Is there any concern, you think, within the Rangers so far this season, what they've seen with Chytil?
Well, the coach scratched him, right? Made him a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
So, I would think so. Gerard Gallant, has a long leash for these players. He really does. And he goes to bat for them. Like, he staunchly defends his players. And I admire that from a coaching standpoint. But he scratched him. And he didn't give necessarily a big-time reason for it, but it was pretty obvious. I mean, he didn't love the way Filip Chytil was playing. And that line – at times that line with Gauthier and Lafreniere and Chytil has been really good, but the problem is they're not finishing. Like, how many times do you see Filip Chytil get a chance and it doesn't win? How many times do you see Julien Gauthier carry the puck in all the way to the net, just looking like a dominant power forward, and then he gets there and it's like, what happened? Nothing, right? So it happens a lot, and Lafreniere I don't think is built for a third line for the Rangers for a long period of time. Ranger fans can't be upset at this guy. He's an elite talent, and he will be. He'll get there. It's just not. He's not Connor McDavid. Okay.
Right.
The thing is with Chytil, they're giving him the leash. He gets scratched. He comes out and he has a consistently good game, and he's an inconsistent player right now, and the finish isn't there. I wonder about him, and I wonder if he eventually gets moved on from this team. Because they want to fill that spot with a different type of centerman, a center, more of a, not in the mold of checking, but more like a Yanni Gourde type center or something like that. A guy who's really a good two-way threat, can play shorthanded minutes for you, eat some of those, can win a lot of defensive zone face-offs and key things along those lines. And I'm just not seeing that from Filip Chytil. I don't know that he fits necessarily there. The line has been good. You need 3 good scoring lines to win in the NHL, and the line can be dynamic, but at times, but he's just, where's the finish? There's just no finish there, and it's frustrating, I would imagine, as a Ranger fan.
So speaking of, use the word inconsistent with him, and I'm going to use it with another player that normally I would use it for this player, but I don't think it's fair to do this year, and that's Chris Kreider. He's been such a streaky player over his career, right? I mean, last year in the Corona season, I think in some games in February and March, he was on fire for 2 weeks. Coincidentally, I think when David Quinn was out with COVID, if I remember right. But now this year, he seems to be putting it together and being a lot more consistent. Do you think this is going to last for him? Do you think there's been changes that he's made to his game?
I think it's going to last. I do. I think there's a lot of staying power for what Chris Kreider's, the way he's playing right now, for a couple of reasons. One, he has been for so long, and I wrote about this with Chris, he's been for so long pegged as a north-south straight line type of player. There's so much more to his game than that. You know, there's an element of skill to his game and speed and power, and there's a little bit of an element of finesse too. And the key for Chris Kreider, yes, he has terrific chemistry with Mika Zibanejad, but the key for him is the power play. And as long as that power play has Artemi Panarin, Adam Fox, Mika Zibanejad, and Ryan Strome on it, and they have the puck, Chris Kreider is going to be a dangerous, consistent player because he has become so good around the net. And I say that on purpose, not in front of the net, around the net. Mm-hmm. Watch how many deflection goals, angled stick deflection goals he has from the post, from the goal, you know, just a step inside of the goal line, a step off the right post or the left post. It's stick on the ice, understanding that Fox and Panarin in particular can thread it to him from wherever, and understanding a goalie's tendencies. These are smart, intangible aspects of Chris Kreider's game that really are coming out now. Part of it is his skill, but part of it is the skill he's playing with too. I don't see it going away. I think Chris Kreider is having a terrific year, and I think he's going to maintain that. Whether the puck continues to go in at the rate it's going in, I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's a 50-goal scorer, but right. I think 40 is a very reasonable number for him this season if the power play stays the way it's been going.
Yeah, and you're right. So many of his goals are with him in front of the net, one way or another, finding a way for the puck to go in. A name that he was pointless for a while. I don't think he's been as bad as people have said, is Kakko. What are your thoughts on Kaapo Kakko so far this year?
He's a young, streaky player. That's what he is. Like and also that, Mika wasn't producing a lot either, right? So, and he was playing with Mika Zibanejad and Kreider. And if Mika wasn't producing a lot, Kakko's not producing a lot. But what I love about Kakko's game this season, I see it more than I have in the other times that I, watched him. There's a confidence to him, a little bit of cockiness too, a little bit of a bravado about his game, and especially just the way he carries himself, a comfort level that you're seeing. And I think you see it on the ice. He's playing bigger. He's understanding his game more. He knows the areas to go. He knows what he can do in the league, and he can get hot. He can get on a hot streak. He's streaky right now. That's what he is. Will he always be that way? I don't know. We've talked about that with Kreider for years, right? Streakiness. And finally, we're seeing him not be necessarily just streaky, I think, this season. But Kakko's game, to me, has really matured this season. And what I like about it, too, is he was able to play a role with Panarin and Strome where he had to, be an effective shooter, always be an option because those two guys love to move the puck so much. And he's playing a role with, and also a guy that digs the puck out on that line. Now he's also playing a role with Zibanejad and Kreider where he doesn't have to be the guy always digging the puck out or playing in front of the net or behind the net. He's showing a multifaceted elements to his game. I don't know why Ranger fans are upset with him because, look, I think what happens is these guys come into the league as top picks, first number one pick, number two pick, and fans just think, well, they're going to be dominant. They're just going to produce. It's not that easy. It's just not that easy sometimes, and it takes some time. Sometimes you don't hit it all. Like sometimes it just doesn't work out, and sometimes it does. And I think Kakko is developing into that type of player who's going to be a hit. It's just you got to just continue to have the patience. But I know that Kreider and Zibanejad, I love him, and I know that Strome and Panarin love playing with him too. He's also not on that top power play unit, and that takes off something too.
That definitely does affect that. So about a couple days after you were on last, the whole Kravtsov situation goes down. And it's, it was allowed, we heard about it for a while, and then winning kind of silenced it. It's not something you hear about as much right now. What do you think he's obviously not coming back this year, if at all. Do you think he'll ever wear a Ranger jersey again? Is there a chance of it?
Well, he could come back this year once the KHL season is over, depending on where the Rangers are and what their needs are. So it's not ruled out for him to come back this season. But I think in the long run, they're going to try to use him to fill a need. That's my guess. Is in the long run they try to fill a need, and that need, I mean, it's a top 6 right wing. That's the need. If you want to look at it that way right now, it's Kreider, Zibanejad, and Kakko, and then Panarin, Strome, and Hunt, or who, you know what I mean? Like I think there's a need there to fill a top 6 role, and it could be Kravtsov. It could be him, but I don't know that there's enough faith and trust there to go ahead and do that. And then there's so much also with Vitaly Kravtsov that it's all based on potential. That's what we've seen, right? But we know his potential. We haven't seen any. It hasn't translated into success when he's been on the ice in the National Hockey League. And look, if he was a dominant player in training camp, there's absolutely no way he'd be in the KHL right now. I think part of it is the guy came here and said, "I got a spot," and he didn't. And he played like he had already gotten the spot, and the coach was like, "No, I don't even know who you are." There's nothing, like I owe you nothing. Like we have no relationship. So I think that was part of it. And Chris Drury also, there's a history there with him, and times in Hartford together, and misunderstandings, disagreements, all that stuff. But I think he can be an NHL player. He certainly has the skill to be. I don't know if he'll be an impactful NHL player with the Rangers. I think they might end up using him to fill some needs for immediacy right now. We'll see.
Okay. Would make sense. MVP of this team so far, I would think, has to be Igor Shesterkin. A lot of players have played well. Adam Fox could be in the conversation, but I think it has to be Igor Shesterkin. I read somewhere an interesting thing, and it was Islander fans complaining that it was the Rangers' luck that they basically went from Henrik Lundqvist to Shesterkin with nothing in between. Maybe a little time gap last year, but Shesterkin, is it fair to assume going forward this is what we should expect, or is it got to level? He's got to come down to earth a little bit, especially because he's going to be coming back from being injured. What do you think going forward the rest of the season we can expect from him?
I think the guy's a top 5 goalie in the NHL as long as he's healthy. I think he's that good, and it's what he should be. He's that good. He's very quick with his movements. He covers the net really well. He plays the puck exceptionally well. He can start your breakout. That's how good he is playing the puck. I think the guy's a top 5 goalie in the league. He's just got to stay healthy. And there's been times we've seen now where he goes down and it's a significant injury. And this one they said would be, when he went down, I was like, my God, that's 3 months. Easy. 3-4 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And
yep.
And then when, it looked like he was shot, to be honest. and Gerard Gallant comes in the press conference that night and says, they're telling me it's not that bad, maybe a week. Well, it's been longer than a week. We all knew it was going to be longer than a week. But he's off IR and he's ready to come back. And I bet you he's in the net if they play on the 27th against the Red Wings. I bet you he's there. He's just got to stay on the ice. I think he is that good of a goaltender. And look, the Ranger fans, should be thanking their lucky stars, because they do. They go from, think about it. You go from Richter to a couple of years of in between. Then you get the King coming in for a 15-year run of greatness. And, not his fault that they never won the Stanley Cup. And then you get straight from him, you go right to Shesterkin, who could have a 15-year run on his own. It's pretty remarkable.
We'll take the luck for sure. Well, this franchise needs it too. I said in the beginning, I don't think it was the show you were on, that Gerard Gallant, if you looked at his track record, his first year when he went places, there was a vast improvement. I guess Vegas, there was not really much something to go on because it was the first year of the franchise. But my co-host over here joked about it being the Gerard Gallant bump in the first year, a bump. So there's clearly been a bump up on this team. How much of it is him? He certainly deserves some credit. Is it all him?
No, he deserves some credit. There's no question about it, because of the style that they play. They're an up-tempo, aggressive team, and they roll it out there. Each line plays pretty much the same way, without the same level of skill, obviously. They push the pace a lot. They get up in your face. They want to be an attack mode team, and that's what they are. They're playing the style of hockey that made Vegas successful under Gerard Gallant. And what the bump was in Vegas was, obviously there was no team before he got there. It was the improvement of all the players that were there. that from where they were previously, like a William Karlsson, a Jonathan Marchessault, Riley Smith, though Alex Tuck. I mean, were those types of players, the improvement they showed under Gallant, and I think part of it is just that style of play. One thing he players love playing for him because he lets them go. He lets them play their style of hockey it's a fun, aggressive style of hockey. As long as you're, coming back hard, as long as you're coming back hard and playing D and responsible, he's going to let you play. But I do think that, and Ranger fans probably don't want to hear this, but I think David Quinn deserves credit. I really do. I think David Quinn had a rough job with this team. It was a tough job. He took over a rebuilding team that was young and had a stable of good players, but they weren't molded. He had to help them mold into a number of them into NHL players. The NHL players, he had to help them mold into, a team, exactly what they do. And, Kakko for 2 years under David Quinn learned. Lafreniere last year, he learned, right? Mika Zibanejad thrived under David Quinn. I mean, he was Artemi Panarin had his best season ever under David Quinn. Adam Fox became a Norris Trophy winner under David Quinn. The Igor Shesterkin, they transferred from Henrik Lundqvist to Igor Shesterkin under David Quinn. All this.
No.
Let's see if we lost them there.
We lost your audio, Dan. Audio.
We lost Dan's audio. We'll see if we can get him back. But I do think he's right in what he's saying there, that David Quinn, and I was not the biggest David Quinn fan, so maybe he's eating a little bit of crow in saying this, but David Quinn probably does deserve some credit for what he did going forward. One of the things that Dan mentioned, I think he's going to try and rejoin here in a minute. One of the things that he had mentioned earlier, which was a question I was going to ask him, but I think he kind of answered, and we'll go to it, is what do you think the Rangers' trade targets will be going forward? What will they be trying to do? And to me, I would assume that Dan is right, that they're going to be looking for a top 6 right wing for sure.
Nice.
So we'll see if we can get Dan back. But as always, super informative, and we're good on our connection, and it looks like, right?
We're all good.
Okay, well, yeah, that's what.
I think his headphones probably died. Maybe here he's coming back. I see him back.
Let's see if we can get him back here. Let's see. You there, Dan?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that.
There we go. So I would agree on that. That David Quinn probably deserves some credit because there were a lot of good things and achievements that happened under his term. And you're right. I mean, Kakko learned. Fox was developed into a Norris winner. Panarin best season. So certainly, I would agree that maybe now looking back, David Quinn didn't get some of the credit that he probably did deserve. Last question on the Ranger front before we shift to the other two local teams. And you actually kind of answered it, but I got a bunch of questions. They wanted me to ask you, some fans, what do they think the Rangers will be trying to do at a trade deadline if it were to be today? And I think you had mentioned before a top 6 right wing. Would that be what you think they would be trying to get?
I would think so. I think they would try to fill gaps that they have right now. I mean, this is a team, to me, that's built to make the playoffs. I don't know yet if they're a team built to win in the playoffs. We have to, you got to get there to have that understanding. I understand that, but there is a hole there, and that they could try to fill to get more depth in that spot. Maybe you add more depth on D because Libor Hayek's played well in the time that he's been in the lineup. So I think that's a good thing for the Rangers right now to see that Libor Hayek can play again. But I just think, a little bit of forward depth, a little bit of D depth, nothing crazy. They're not going to do anything. They have all their big pieces, right? All their big pieces are in. So I don't see why they would go out and do anything nuts in the, at the trade deadline. But if they can move a draft pick, or you remember, they're loaded on D in terms of prospects, right? So move a D to pick up a forward who could really help you right now. I think that would be moves that I would look for sure. I don't think he's going to be quiet. I think he understands you got to strike while the iron's hot, and it's pretty hot this year, and they got a chance. I mean, there's nobody running away with it in the division. Carolina's very good. Pittsburgh's playing very well. Washington has played well, but we've seen that they're an aging team, right? And the Rangers have played well, and there's a real separation right now in that division behind Pittsburgh and the Rangers and Washington and Carolina. And if you look on the other side, Tampa's very good, and they're the team that you obviously get scared of, and Florida's very good, and so is Toronto. But I don't see any of those teams absolutely just hauling off with it. I think the Rangers have a chance if they get in, and I think they do get in, but they need to beef it up a little bit.
Yeah.
What are you willing to give if you're going for a top 6 right wing? What are you willing to give up for that?
I think you're willing to give up Zach Jones, Matthew Robertson. I think you have to look at those guys. You have a very good defense right now in Hartford with a guy, and you don't have a lot of room at the NHL level, to be honest with you. You got 5 guys at the NHL level who aren't going anywhere. In Fox, Lindgren, Trouba, Miller, and Lundqvist. Like, those guys aren't going anywhere, at least I don't think. So not a, you might have 4 or 5 guys right now in Hartford that could graduate to the NHL tomorrow and play and be okay, but there's no room for them. So you got to try to use them. You build up. It's a great area to build up. Your organizational depth on the back end is a terrific area to build up, because when you have it, then you can, it's something teams always want, is organizational depth on the back end, and you have it. Now you're trading from a position of strength.
Got it. All right, let's shift gears to a Devil question, and I'm sure it's probably the question you think you're going to get, is Lindy Ruff. This team has just kind of not been playing well for a couple of weeks and not really showing signs of getting better. Is there any, do you think there's any jeopardy right now in Lindy Ruff's job?
I mean, I got to think there's some, because they're not showing any signs of growth. And they're backtracking a little bit here, and a lot of the games are the same. Either they, get up 1-0, and all of a sudden they're down 3-1, or they're down 3-0, and they're trying to claw their way back. It's just they're out of it quick. I would think there's some deployment of players. I think there's some questions about that, but I can't lay this all at the feet of Lindy Ruff, and I know fans want to do that because that's what coaches. Yeah, that's the lot in life of a coach. You're hired to be fired, right? And you're going to take the blame. But the Devils are trying. The Devils want to build this thing around, a handful of players, as most teams do. And 2 of those guys are Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, and they played 8 games together this season. 8 out of 30 or 31 that they've, Hischier is out with has been out with COVID. Hughes missed 17 games. So it's like, you want to build it around your top 2 centers, you got to have them in the lineup together. Last year, they barely played together. They played like 21 of the 56 games together because Nico Hischier missed 35 games last year. So you gotta see what you have. There's more to it than that, though. I understand that the Devils just as a whole are not playing well. They're disjointed. Meaning they're not connected on the ice. There's holes all over the place, and frankly, the worst thing for a coach is goaltending. Bad goaltending is a coach killer, and the Devils have not had good goaltending this season. They just haven't had it for a while. And when you have holes on the ice, that your goaltender has to be able to fill them in some way to give you a chance. And their goaltenders have not been filling it. But part of the problem is, again, staying on the ice. Blackwood can't. Bernier can't. I think they've played 5 goaltenders, which is insane.
Yeah, and I was surprised a little bit, although maybe it does make some sense where, people speculate, well, if they do get rid of the coach and make a change. I mean, I was surprised to see Tortorella's name in a couple places. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it would be a good fit. I was a great coach, but yeah, I don't know.
You know what? No, I think the Devils, if they're going to make a change, and I think the world of John Tortorella. I do. I think he's a good coach. But I think he's a good coach for a team that's ready to win, more so now than he has been. If I have a group of young players, I don't want a guy who's going to come in and try to stifle them, to play a certain way. And that's Tortorella's MO. And again, I respect John. I think he's been an excellent coach in the league for a long time. And he didn't stifle Panarin. He didn't stifle Atkinson. He didn't stifle these types of players when he was in Columbus. But those were established players. The Devils don't have those types of established offensive threats right now. And those guys also did all the other work too. So I said this to a friend of mine in passing, who's a Devils fan. I said, the guy that they should look at is David Quinn, to be honest with you. It's David Quinn.
Yeah, you know what?
If they're going to make
I
a
know,
change.
he would, and I would agree that that's a good fit. No, he came from Boston University, where I went to. I'm an alma mater, so he's used to working with kids. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was the U.S. coach for the national development team. So you're right, with a young team like that, he would be a good fit. The other name I've seen mentioned a couple places is Kevin Dineen, as well for that. So, last question for you before we let you go. The Islanders. Now, nobody would draw it up where you start on the road for 7 weeks, and then on top of it have COVID issues galore. It seems to me, if I look at the numbers, it's almost impossible for them to recover, to get up, because the top of this division is playing so well. But I am not going to ever count Barry Trotz out. I'm not going to do that. I mean, I'm not that dumb. But if you're the Islanders, you think they can make it all the way back to get a wild card spot, or is the hole that they've dug themselves into now just as big as it looks?
I think it's as big as it looks, and I think it's for what you said. The other teams are playing well. They have to pass so many teams, but a number of these teams are playing solid hockey, and winning games, and it's a lot to make up for them. And I agree with you. Like, why would you count out a Barry Trotz run team? Like, it's, he's one of the best coaches in the league, and I get that. This team's pretty far behind. And the other thing is what have they shown you in the last week or two that says, all right, we're going to make a run? Like, they're not making the run. They got to make it now. No. And if they're not making it now, when's it happening? Right. So can they go on they're going to have to go on basically a 17, 18, 19 game heater and to really get there.
Right,
and I don't see it. Like, I don't see it from them. They're not fast enough. They don't score enough. They're old. They became an old hockey team. That's what they became, an old hockey team right now. And it shows. It really does. In fact, to be honest with you, I think what the Islanders need to start doing, I don't know if they're quite there yet mentally, but Oliver Wahlstrom, Robin Salo, Sebastian Aho, they got to play these guys. They got to play them a lot. Noah Dobson, they got to play them a lot, because they're the young guns on this team, and they're the guys that can skate and move. And I mean, in the last 2 years, they've replaced Nick Leddy, who is one of the best skaters in the league, and Devon Taves, one of the most underrated defensemen in the league, with Zdeno Chara, who can't move anymore, and Andy Green, who can't move anymore.
Yeah, definitely been a surprise. I mean, as a Ranger fan, don't want to say I'm overly disappointed in it, but it has definitely been a surprise. Well, I appreciate your time as always, Dan. You're the best. You really are. No one knows this stuff like you. We appreciate you spending the time with us. Happy holidays to you and your family, and Happy New Year as well.
Thanks a lot. Same to you guys. Really appreciate it.
We'll talk to you soon, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
So that is Dan Rosen, senior writer, NHL.com. I mean, the best.
Yeah,
like I watch, it's funny when Dan is on, and people on that watch us on camera don't see, we have like a TV on the side of the studio, and it has the timer. And I shocked all the time how fast the time goes, because I could talk
when you're having fun.
We could do like a 7-hour episode with Dan. I would be fine. I would love it.
New Year's Eve special.
It would. Yes, we'll drop I'm sure that's exactly what Dan wants to spend his New Year's Eve doing. I'm sure. So we thank Dan for that. So we'll move real quickly to the NFL. Last week, if you remember, for week number 14, we had the worst week imaginable. We were 0-5. We basically said, if you do everything we don't say, you would have been a rich man. So we entered week 15, and I said, when you get back down, Dougie Sticks, what do? Get back up. Get back up. And we got back up. We had 4 wins and 1 loss. So we recovered to move our record to 11 wins and 4 losses on the season.
Won. It's all bonus, baby.
It is. Now it's just gravy, right? Yeah. We're just giving you extra money. So what did we have right last week? Well, with COVID, it ended up being the game got moved to yesterday. Let me do the one we got wrong first.
All right.
And then we'll do the 4 we got right. So we had the Saturday night game wrong. I had the Patriots +2 at the Colts, and they lost by 10. Patriots, for some reason, didn't show up, which I'm okay with. And then with the rest of them, we had right. We had the Raiders getting 6 at Cleveland. Now, that line had actually moved because of COVID. Mm-hmm. But it's still, I mean, we had it at +6, so we won. But even if you had the newer line in Vegas, you would have won anyway. So we had the Vegas getting 6. We got that right. We had Detroit getting 14 at home versus Arizona. They won the game outright. Mm-hmm. I told you the Bengals had to show up +1.5 at Denver, and they needed to win, and they did. They won 15-10. And then I loved the Ravens at home +7 versus the Packers, and that was a 1-point game, so we hit that. Meaning we finished the week 4-1.
Nice.
We'll take it.
So before you do this week's pick,
Yes.
some people are going to be super angry. Last night, Minnesota played the Bears.
Yep.
And I think the spread was 7 or 8, depending on when you made your pick, right? And the Minnesota Vikings were up by like 10 points, and there was like some crazy touchdown the last second play. So really mess up. My spread, I had a 7. But some people had like -8, -9.
So you were okay with it?
I was okay with it. I'm all good. I won, but
I was gonna say you'd be in a worse mood today around here if you did.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it would be the first thing you hear when you walk through the door.
100%.
I've been crying about it.
You'd be upset.
I'm all right, but
so here we go with the week. Let's see, what week are we up to here? Actually, we're 11. This is week 16. Yeah, we're already at week 16. This is the week 16 picks for the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast. Give me the Cardinals -1.5 at home Saturday night primetime versus the Colts. The Cardinals got embarrassed up in Detroit. They need to respond. The Colts are good. I have nothing against the Colts, but you're a home team and you need to win -1.5. I'm taking the Cardinals at home -1.5. Give me the Lions +5.5 at Atlanta. Man, if they're going to ride the momentum of beating Arizona last week, you get to go play an Atlanta team that's not very good, and you're getting 5.5 still. Give me the Lions +5.5 in Atlanta. Give me the New York Football Giants +10 at Philadelphia. These teams played 3 weeks ago, and the Giants won the game outright. So give me the Giants +10. It's a lot of points.
How are they getting +10?
I don't know. They're getting +10. So give me the Giants +10 in Philadelphia. And Philadelphia also, because of COVID, is playing tonight on Tuesday. They have a short week. They don't even have that much time to prepare.
Maybe that's why they get the +10, because it's a short week.
Whatever it is, it's more points in my favor. So give me the Giants +10. Give me the Bears +7 at the Seahawks. Neither team is good. And the Seahawks are not good. I mean, the Seahawks are really not good enough that they should be a 7-point favorite here. Give me the Bears +7 up in the Pacific Northwest. Last game, we'll do the Sunday night primetime game. Give me the Washington football team +10.5 at the Cowboys. The Cowboys, as good as they've been in their record, they've beaten teams that are not very good. And also offensively, like if you're a fantasy player, Dak Prescott hasn't been good. CeeDee Lamb hasn't been good. So now I got a team coming in getting +10.5, which that little extra half. 10.5 is a big difference. Give me Washington +10.5 at Dallas. So to recap, go ahead.
Great offense. They're not putting a lot of points on the board.
Not putting a lot of They're just not. I mean, they're winning, so it gets you kind of cover it up. You don't really talk about it when the team's winning, but the offense hasn't been good. So give me the Cardinals -1.5 at home versus the Colts. The Lions +5.5 at Atlanta. The Giants +10 as they go south on the Turnpike to play the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bears +7 at Seattle. And Sunday night, give me the Washington football team on the road +10.5 at the Dallas Cowboys.
Nice.
Good with that?
Sounds good to me.
It works. So before we break for the holidays, we are going to be on, I believe, the plan right now is next Friday. We'll take kind of an extra few days off because you're on your honeymoon.
Yes.
So we wish you nothing but the best there in Florida. Do you want to do you have the picture of us?
Yeah, I was waiting
so we had an event, I want to say it was about 3 or 4 weeks.
Expo.
The Holiday Expo event that we've talked about a few times on the show. And you can see here, if you're following on camera, this is all of us here with Santa. That is producer B-Rock on the right, Dougie Sticks and I. And Connor, who usually is around here in the studio, is probably out back right now, and Santa Claus. So we wish you, from us to you, we wish you nothing but the best, especially with everything going on. We wish you an extra dose of health, I should say. So health and happiness with maybe a little extra dose of health.
It's a nice little picture right there.
It is. I tell you, what, Dougie Sticks, if I didn't do a holiday card with my family, that would be the one.
Send that out? We
should
send that
out. We'll send that out to all of our friends.
Yeah, take your screenshots, ladies and gentlemen. There's your holiday card.
Now, without mentioning names,
yeah,
we will send that one out to a certain guest that we've had in the past year that you sent me something about yesterday on their social feeds about a new adventure. We'll send that out, and we're sure they would be thrilled to see us.
Absolutely.
And they know who they are. So that is it for us. We before we go, I just want to thank you through the year. We will be on one more show this year. But if for some reason we're not, because Dougie Six has got to fly back the night before, and we know how travel is in the winter here in the Northeast. So if we're not on, we thank you for this past year listening every week. We've grown immensely in listeners and subscribers and questions and all that stuff. And we're eternally grateful for that. We are nothing here without your support and your listenership. And we really, really appreciate it and wish you nothing but the best this holiday season.
Absolutely. And if there's anything else we can do for you or answer any more questions, you can do it right there.
At mypvshow@gmail.com. And we should have the shirts that we talked about last week with the Bamboozle Project coming soon, hopefully right after the new year at the latest. And then you can snatch them up.
And if you need a last minute gift, don't forget to go to the bamboozleproject.com and use promo code MYPB for 25% off the entire store.
Right. Which is a really good, if you had a 25% promo code for any other website you would like, you'd love it, right?
Yeah.
That's a really generous offer. So thank you everyone for listening in. Like I said, have a great holiday with your families. We will see you on the other side next Friday, New Year's Eve day, which will be actually week 17 of the football season. Take care. Merry Christmas, everybody.